It's Friday, the 10th of January, 2025, and it's exactly 25 degrees right here in the nation's capital, a humidity of 23%, and visibility 14 kilometers. Good morning and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily. I am Kayla Magwa.
I'm Ayo Makinde. I would have said TGI FF, but this is not the first Friday, so welcome to the show. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Yes,
so
indeed.
let's.
I hear where you're taking us to Abeokuta.
Oh yes. The flight has taken off, and this is where we are right now, taking you straight to. For those who love the game of golf, or the sports golf, whichever one you want to call it, that's where we're taking you, the Abeokuta Golf Club. That is where you are going right now, and you can see that beautiful, lush green right there on your screen. It is just what it is, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place to go to at any given time. Established as far back as 1987. A large expanse of land. Guess how big? 49 hectares. Somewhere secluded behind the Ogun State Government Secretariat. And it's, if you want to be a member, just about 180 people right now. You can find your way to abeokutagolfclub.com. Maybe you'll find some direction there. But one thing that I think I can take away from this golf club, it's the serenity of it, the lushness of it, the beauty of it, and the fact that such a thing can be found here. Now, for those who sometimes need a getaway from the hustle and bustle of city life in Lagos, even from the hustle and bustle of city life in Ogun State, this is a place to go hide your head. And it's also safe. It's right behind the Ogun State Government Secretariat, so how safer can it get? I don't know if you're a member of this golf club yet, Kayla.
Not yet. Not yet. But soon. It's comprising 4 par 3, 4 par 5, and 10 par 4 holes. Of course, it's surrounded by hills. You know, one of the hills there is the clubhouse. It sits on that hill, giving this bird's eye view of the many parts of this beautiful course. It's a lively place, and like you said, to unwind when you're done with a hard day. And of course, new members are always coming in because it's very exclusive and the environment is very loving. And it extends one-room sections to intending members, very warm, you know, to people who want to join this particular golf course. A few things you should always take with you, and I learned this one the hard way. Don't wear heels, okay? Even flip-flops, look for Crocs. Very comfortable shoes. You will regret it. Whenever anyone tells you we are going golfing, listen, ladies, that's the first thing you should think about, your shoes, okay? Because even sneakers, sometimes you have to get like really soft, expandable sneakers so that you do not get tired. You will get tired walking all those holes with those men when they go for these interesting adventures that they have, you know, and take a camera and wear a hat. You know, make sure that you're prepared. The sun will hit you, okay?
Well, if you can, right on your screen right now,
wear
Kayla,
sunscreen.
Yeah, right on your screen right now. If you can see that right on your screen is a train, the train, the Lagos to Abeokuta train. You will see it right there.
Oh yeah, right there in the background. Yeah. Yes, so, I can see that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear the sound, but I think you can see the train move.
It's a fantastic place to unwind and make sure that you're prepared.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself. You will not regret it. Don't say I never helped. I have helped now. Okay. And then take a camera, take pictures. It is so serene. I think one of the things I love about this particular golf course is that it is so quiet. And the birds, you can hear all those trees filled with birds. Lovely, serene atmosphere there, and a really beautiful one. They're really well managed by those who belong to the clubhouse there, and the Abeokuta State, the Ogun State government as well. Abeokuta has become one of the most beautiful places I've seen recently. I think it's very purposeful what they're doing in that state, trying to get tourism to be part of what it creates the revenue for the state. And then maintaining some of these historical sites in the place as well, Ayo.
Yeah, very, very, very. And what you may also find interesting is that it's ranked 9th in Nigeria, so that means there's quite a number. I don't want to look at those other ratings; they're very not very exciting. But at least take that away. It's the 9th. It's ranked 9th in Nigeria. Definitely something to celebrate. Well, there you have it, Kayla. That is the Abeokuta golf course for us today.
Beautiful, beautiful sight there. All right, well, we do have quite a lot of things to talk about this morning. Everyone has been talking about the tariff increase. How are we going to survive it? What does it mean? What's the details? Well, we're going to have a consumer-based conversation about it in a bit. But we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll start that conversation. So please, stay with us.
We've looked at a number of things in terms of how do we ensure that this sector can meaningfully continue to contribute to the development of Nigeria. So some of those things include implementing the executive order around ensuring that we can protect infrastructure, telecommunications infrastructure in the country, driving up significantly local content. But I think most importantly as well is ensuring the sustainability of the companies as well. That as we see inflation across the world, that telecommunications companies, that we don't run them down, we allow them the opportunity to continue to be sustainable so that they can contribute to our economy. You've seen over the past weeks that there's been agitation from some of these companies to increase tariff. They're requesting for 100% tariff increase. This is not something that as a government will be able to subscribe to at the minute. But the work we've done is to commission a study that has helped us to look at how do we drive the sustainability of the sector without inflicting any serious pain on our people. But also, even where we find pains, can we find ways to mitigate this pain so that people don't feel it that much? So that's what this is all about. And yeah, tariff will go up. That's the verdict, but it won't be by 100%. And we're still looking at that study, and NCC will come up with a clear directive on how we go about it to strike the balance as a government to protect our people, but also protect and ensure that these companies can continue to invest significantly as well.
And that Mr. Bosun Tijani, the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy. Now, the rise in tariff for the telecom sector is one that many Nigerians are beginning to wonder, okay, so is this a replication of what happened in the oil and gas sector? And how are we going to survive this one? In fact, what we're hearing really from governments is creating that balance between ensuring that these companies do not die and that the Nigerian doesn't die too under the weight of extra payments in this particular sector. Well, here to help us understand it from a consumer's perspective, really, is the former editor-in-chief of the Vanguard newspaper and provost of the NIJ, Mr. Gbenga Adefaye. Good morning, Mr. Gbenga.
Good morning.
So
My pleasure of being here.
Nice to have you here with us as well. So let's talk about this. How are we going to navigate this particular matter?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's clear. We've had the verdict of the government. Tariffs will go up. That will be an additional burden on all of us, you and I, both in our private lives and in official lives, because we've all come now to be totally dependent on the services of the telcos. How do we navigate this? I think we just have to adjust. I don't see any other way around it. It's not something that you and I are going to be able to negotiate with the telcos, because they put the case forward very strongly that they are hemorrhaging, they are dying, they are not making money, they are incurring losses, and largely because of the economic policies, the Naira dollar crisis and all of that. So how do we negotiate this or navigate this? I think you and I will just have to adjust.
When we say when you say
yeah,
adjust,
we just have to adjust.
What do we do? When you said so?
Well, look,
are we going to be able to afford it? He said it's not going to be 100%. Listen, they've said a lot of things. They actually said they were going to start service shedding if their demands are not met. And
yes.
then, you know, with all of these things going on, when we say adjust as a people, how? Do I not use data? Do I turn off data? What do I do?
Let me ask you, how many phone lines do you have as a person?
One.
How many? Oh, lucky you.
Yes,
some people carry 3, 4 because they are not sure of the quality of service. I don't want to do advertisement for any of the telcos there, but you and I know that there are some parts of this country you go to, you can't get quality service. On some of the telcos, you can't. Only 1 or 2 are assured and all of that. So what you see, you find a lot of people carry more than 1 telephone lines, buying data on 2, 3, 4 platforms. I tell you, you have to do bundle. You have to mind how much time you spend on online, how much data you use. There's not just 2 ways about it. I tell you, as a person, for instance, I'm probably going to consolidate my data usage, concentrate on one, and begin to do share if I need to use services elsewhere. If you don't mind the cost, you'll be taken out of the system. And so that's the way it is. You can only spend the money you have, and I do not think we all have too much money left after spending so much on energy costs, after spending so much on transportation costs, after spending so much on food, when you look at the inflation figures and all of that. So that's what I mean by adjustment. You just have to cut your coat according to your side, according to your pocket, make only necessary calls, shut down data where you don't need it, and that's it. So that's what I mean by being adjusting, because there's no way around this. You are not going to be able to do much about the direction of the economy. As it affects the companies, the telcos, so it affects you and I.
I mean, Mr. Adefaye, would this translate to better service? I don't mind if the service gets better.
Well, what is the quality of service you get right now?
Poor.
Let me ask you.
Very poor. Very poor.
The farther you move away from Lagos, which is considered the economic hub, or you move away from Abuja, the more your troubles. So we do hope that they will plow back some of these resources into working on our broadband relay. And I think beyond that, the government has a duty here, has a job to do. I think it's also about time government begin to do massive investments in creating the national telecom infrastructure to support what the telcos are doing, so that there can be sharing of cost, and then they can then improve the services. As we speak, it's terrible. As we're talking here now, I have about 3 devices set up to continue this engagement, because I'm not too sure that one will serve and all of that. And I'm just close by your Lagos office here, just some 2-3 kilometers away from you. So that's it. We pray that we get quality service, we get better service, but the promises are not there. Like they say, unless we do what they're asking us to do now, pay a bit more. I hope it's not going to be a lot more.
I mean, I think Ayo has a few questions that he'd want to ask you. I'm trying to adjust. I'm thinking about my spending. I'm trying to think, okay, so the Wi-Fi in the house.
I am doing mine also.
We have to start adjusting that. But I think Ayo has a few things that he would like to ask you. Go ahead, Ayo.
Well,
okay,
thank you.
I'm here.
Thank you, Caleb. Now, let me ask you, this is no longer a luxury. Telecom service is not a luxury anymore. And it's a global phenomenon, and everyone is talking about it. In our country, perhaps one of the issues that people will be concerned about is the communication of these intentions. Do you see a responsibility for telcos in communicating these intentions to hike the fare prices well enough?
I don't think they've done a good job of it. I think they can do a lot better. They've told their stories. They've spoken about inflation. They've spoken about devaluation of naira. They've spoken about the cut in their cables and all of that. But I think they need to do a lot more of engagement to show empathy to the people here who are going to be spending the money. Because believe you me, those who can buy will stop buying. And we better all adjust to that reality. Yes, they might get more money because they raise the tariff, but in terms of how much time you and I spend on these services might be reduced. I will adjust mine. I will only make important and necessary calls. I will only do what I need to do with data. When it is not important, I will shut down because I need to survive. Unfortunately, our lives, our businesses totally depend on these services.
Now,
so,
talking about businesses,
I think they can do a lot more.
Yeah, talking about businesses, going straight to micro, small, and medium enterprises, this will definitely significantly impact them, right? So I'm wondering what you think, what the thoughts you would be proposing. What would you be proposing for the minister to look closer at as they consult? I mean, you heard him there talk about, consultations ongoing, research ongoing, and the impact that this is going to have ultimately. We hope we'll be able to speak with the minister also shortly. But if you could be asking him questions as a journalist, what are the things, or if you could propose to him based on the experience that you have in interacting with the public, what would you be proposing to him in consideration of micro, small, and medium enterprises? Automatically, prices will rise according to the overheads of the businesses.
Well, it's simple. We'll be telling him well, maybe you have to have special consideration for this kind of services because of the number of the people that are in employment in these micro mini businesses. If they do not propose what is affordable, a lot of people are going to go out of jobs. A lot of people are going to go out of jobs, and that is going to worsen the economic situation. It's going to worsen the crisis we've had with the GDP growth and all of that. So there has to be special consideration for this level of operators in our economy. The big players, yes, maybe they can afford it, like they're trying to do with taxes. Maybe they want to consider something like that for the small side businesses, to keep as many people as can in business.
How about
for those level of businesses? Yes.
Okay. How about the NCC? The minister mentioned the NCC the other time. So what is your assessment of the NCC? That's the Nigerian Communication Commission's role in protecting consumer rights while balancing industry needs?
Well, are they protecting consumers' rights? I know that there's been serious accusation that tariff have been frozen for a long period of time. Oh, yes. Maybe in that regard, they have to. But having seen them listen to and consider the presentation of the telcos, I think they still have to weigh more on the side of businesses, on the side of consumers, to think of affordability. Because let's face it, it is tough around here for all of us. It is tough because even the minimum wage, how many people can pay. And don't be surprised. Many people are going to outsource the lower cadre businesses. They're not going to be able to keep them in employment, and if they are not in employment, when they are not earning money, they are not going to be able to spend. All of this will form part of what the consumer section of NCC should look at in the negotiation, in the mediation between the telcos and all of us. So they have a lot of work to do. in moderating this. I think they can do better than they have done. They appear to have assisted all of us to have held down the tariffs for a while. But while they cannot hold it down much longer, I think they have to get something. They have to consider the general state of the economy and the purchasing power of the people in arriving at the figure. We've had it. We've had the rumor that they are considering 40%. Even 40% is a lot because we are going to be moving to some 15 naira or so per minute or all of that.
Well, I guess we'll wait to see how it all pans out. But talking about consumer protection, how about consumer advocacy groups in Nigeria? I'm sure you know one or two of them. They definitely have their own roles to play. Do you think they've been able to hold telcos accountable for fair pricing and service quality for long enough?
They try, but I think they can do a lot more. They can.
Are they limited in any way? Do you think they are limited?
Hello?
Do you think they are limited?
I think so. I think so.
In what ways
especially
do you think they are limited?
The NGOs. But I think the one that may not be as limited will be the one headed by the Federal Commission, the one headed by Tunji Bello, who has been forceful in the few months he's been in office in trying to hold back and try to get something fair for consumers. I'm impressed with what he has done with the electricity people. I think they can also come in strongly and also interface with both the telcos and the NCC on behalf of all of us. That is it. I think they are limited in terms of capacity. I don't see enough of conversation going on around quality of services we have to match what we pay, even now, not to talk of what we will pay as we go up.
Well, this is definitely going to have a lot more impact on young people. What would be your advocacy or what would be your counsel? I know you've talked about us adjusting and all of that, but young people who would rather just stay online than face certain, vagaries of life, what would be your proposition?
My proposition is to make special allowance for them. Look, around me in my house, there are about 4 or 5 young men and a lady. Young people in the university, some just living. And what I found out that they spend most of their time online trying to learn one or two things, because they think that, well, you can make money, you can learn new things and all of that. And I think they have to be encouraged. Like as we've said, there should be special consideration for the small scale and medium-sized businesses. I think in doing the negotiation, in doing the packaging, the telcos must have to have some consideration for this kind of users, this system. I know right now sometimes you can bribe for free at night. They are able to do that. You and I can't do that. I can't stay up all night. But that notwithstanding, I think new bundles, new packages may just be something that maybe may have to be considered for the use of this generation, so that we can keep them busy and maybe steer them away from troubles.
One thing that you can be sure of is the young man or the young woman will evolve, will adjust, and they will still maximize. Sure. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Mr. Gwengadifai, former editor-in-chief of Vanguard newspaper, as well as provost of the NIJ. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much. My pleasure indeed. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, when we return, we'll take you to Edo State, find out what's happening, what's the latest about that first issue of LG. We'll be right back.
Office. I had a meeting with the Accountant General. He said this payment is going to. There was no explanation to it. Then why did I pick interest? I saw environmental security funding. I've never heard that before. And the amount involved is huge, 800 million. Every month, this chairman contributes this money to give a leader of one particular party. And in our schools, we don't have teachers. So I felt I should invite them, and I actually invited them. That day, unfortunately, I didn't have time to meet with them directly, but my deputy did. He asked for a simple thing. Explain this. They could not explain. He said, okay, if you cannot explain, give me your books. 24 hours which they choose by themselves, they never did. 48 hours that the deputy gave, they never did. 2 weeks, nothing happened. I have to send a letter to EFCC to please look into these people's record. At the same time, as a parliamentarian, I know there are people that have oversight function rights over them, which is the State Assembly. I also sent a letter to the State Assembly. Invited them, they refused to come, and State Assembly decided to say, okay, we suspend you for 2 months so that we can look into your record. That is it. But I want to thank you because you have changed the narrative. What you have done is not out of contest. It's not out of the law. Impeaching somebody who is corrupt, who has used the local funds for personal gain, sending him away is not wrong. I recognize you as my chairman.
Those two gentlemen join us. Thank you for staying with us. They join us this morning to discuss this vexed issue of local government administration crisis in Edo State. Damian Lawani, as you've seen there, is the chairman, Local Government Services Commission. He is representing the APC, as well as Honorable Matthew Idorienwemkem, who is former majority leader of the Edo State House of Assembly, former governorship aspirant. He's also a chieftain of the PDP. Both of them join us virtually from Benin. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let me begin with you, Mr. Lawani. Now, we heard the governor speak there, and those allegations are quite stiff. Please tell us what exactly is going on right now. This issue has been on for a while.
Good morning, viewers. I think you just heard the governor, and that is the present situation. And you know very well that the issues are already being challenged, and we are in court, and we have joint issues. But most importantly, the law forbids vacuum, and the steps taken so far is to ensure that those vacuums are covered. And whenever there is a vacuum of such in an arm of government like that, the leader or the speaker steps in as an elected leader. And what has happened is not strange. Even at the state level, if the governor and the deputy are out, the speaker takes over. So at the local government, same has happened. And within the first 2 months, while the investigation will be going on, somebody must be in government. And we cannot leave the government just because someone has been suspended. And mind you, the suspension or the place on hold is not done or was not done by the Edo State government. It was done by the parliament, who is saddled with such responsibility to oversight those arms of government and those agencies, departments of government. So what has happened so far is what the law has prescribed, and that is why we are here.
Okay, let me ask Honorable Matthew, do you agree with him when he says that this is not something being done by the governor, it is something being done by the House of Assembly as prescribed in the laws?
I think this is most laughable. It's completely laughable. First, he says it's not something that is being done by the governor. Who wrote to the House of Assembly to dissolve councils? Who wrote to the House of Assembly to dissolve councils before the House of Assembly members on their own, without inviting the council chairman to explain any allegations alleged against them? Went ahead and said they have suspended the local government chairman and the advice. They didn't even say chairman, they said the chairman and the advice. You see, these people, what they are doing in APC is they are making a mockery and a joke of.
But you know, Honorable, before you go on, you would agree, of course, that the allegations, first of all, validate the allegations or refute the allegations that the governor made of some 800 million naira being given to one party chieftain by the local government administrations.
Well, I don't know where the government got his information from, but mind you, the local government is a tier of government. Just as the local government have an office called the Office of the Auditor General of Local Government, you have the Auditor General of the state, you also have the Auditor General of the Federation. It is that office that is saddled with the responsibility to look into the books at that level. If the Auditor General of the local governments found the local government chairman wanting, he has a right to issue them audit queries, and when they refuse to answer him, we have anti-graft agencies. You have the EFCC, you have the ICPC. You heard the governor saying that he personally wrote to the EFCC. You wrote to the EFCC, EFCC is still investigating. You not told us the findings by the EFCC. You wrote to the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly did not even bother to invite these persons. And the next thing we heard is that they have, suspended the chairman for 2 months. After that, they didn't stop at that. They now started doing what I call kangaroo impeachment. Take for instance, like my local government, Bubaka local government. Once councillor went to sit in the chambers, while the other 8 councillors, because one of the councillors has resigned position as councillor, 8 councillors were together. One councillor went, they took him to the legislative chambers of the local government, and only one person suspended the chairman and the vice chairman. How is that done? We are living in a country where we are guided by the rule of law. What is the rule of law? The rule of law simply is the adherence to the Constitution by both the government and the people.
Okay.
When the people and the government do no longer abide by the Constitution, then it means that we have got into a place of anarchy. And that is
Honorable, are you saying that the governor has no right to step in when he discovered or got wind of those allegations, those issues going on? Are you saying the governor has no right at all to step in?
There are institutions that the governor would have contacted. He would have contacted, for instance, the Edo State House of Assembly, for instance, to investigate those allegations, because there's a committee on local government in the House of Assembly. He would have contacted the Auditor General of the local government to investigate and get back to him. It's like the president of the country
just
saying that,
a second, just so we get the perspective before we get the perspective of Mr. Lawani on that one. But the governor already contacted the House of Assembly. Isn't that the process that he was talking about?
No, he wrote to the House of Assembly to dissolve the councils. He didn't write to them to investigate the chairman.
Okay. Mr. Lawani, okay, yeah. Mr. Lawani, I'm sure you have some responses to what you've heard the Honorable, talk about. The governor could probably have done better in the light of the rule of law.
Well, I'm really taken aback because my leader there knows the practice. Haven't been a majority leader, haven't been a very practical politician all the while. Anybody, not even just the governor, can write to EFCC or any anti-graft body when there's reasonable suspicions of any corrupt practice, not just the governor. In this case, sir, if I would take it further, the issue in question borders on joint account of the state government and the local government. The governor has said that such an amount has been given to you, transferred from the state government account to you for 1, 2, 3 reasons. We want to know if these actions were carried out. Please, let's have your books. And I'm sure if the in and out ledgers were brought in before the committee set up by the governor, we won't be here. They asked for 24 hours. The governor extended it to 72 hours. Unfortunately, this matter was dragged on up to 2 weeks. No report back, and you can't hold government to ransom. Because the governor now felt, okay, maybe they will not respect his office. There are other arms of government who are saddled with those responsibilities of checks and balance. And he decided to inform the Edo State House of Assembly, whose function is to make laws, supervise, oversight the activities of government at any level. So what the governor has done is not out of place. And what the House of Assembly has done was just to say, okay, because we don't want you to be a judge in your own case, step aside for 2 months while we look at those books. Because they would have been able to tamper with the investigation, alter documents as it suit them. But the House of Assembly, in their wisdom, decided to ask them to step aside to enable them do a proper investigation. And mind you, the governor did not dissolve them. Neither did the governor suspend. It was done by the Edo State House of Assembly, which is a different arm of government.
Your Honorable,
as a tier of government,
just a second, Mr. Lawani. Just 1 second, Mr. Lawani. Honorable, when he was talking the other time, he said that the governor wrote not to the House of Assembly, not for investigation, but for the action that you just talked about, suspension or dissolving of those local government administrations.
The governor wrote for the House of Assembly to intervene in investigating and finding out what has happened. Since they could not obey or honor the governor's instructions, or as discussed when they said 12 hours, 72 hours, 1 week, 2 weeks.
Okay. Now, there is
nothing was heard.
I'm curious. Just a second, Honorable Mr. Lawani. I'm curious. You are the chairman of the Local Government Services Commission. What's supposed to be your own role as the one oversighting, so to speak, or administering Local Government Services Commission? Is there any role you could have played before the governor had to step in?
No, in fact, that would have been more detrimental to our staffs. You know, we are saddled with the responsibility of handling the local government staffs, their training, their promotion, pensions, discipline, and all that. But in this case, if funds are tampered with, you will be sure that salaries will not be paid. Projects will not be carried out.
Was this issue flagged by your office? That's the question I'm asking. Was this issue flagged by your office before the governor had to come in?
Yes. Yes. The issues were discussed with the chairman. That in the event that your books are asked for proper record, please oblige.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lawani, anyone who understands, just a second, anyone who understands,
they were going to come with the books within 1 week.
Okay. Anyone who has been following the politics of Edo State will probably say there is a possibility of some degree of politicking at play here, as opposed to the real issues of governance. How much of these issues being raised are political? How much of them are governance related?
I believe that at any point, people will always say that there is politics in it. But I'm of the view that this is a very more like the governor asking people to do the right thing, do the just thing, do what you are supposed to do. So it's not about the governor. If monies were taken and the governor is the governor of Edo State and he cannot ask questions, it means he's not the governor. And besides that, sir, it's not about the governor in this case. Any other person would have asked EFCC or any anti-graft body to look into these books. Some of them already have EFCC cases that were brought in by the citizens of their various local government. Why were they not questions?
Okay.
Why were they not asking them what right have those citizens to bring petitions against their chairman?
Okay, let me ask Honorable that same question. Honorable Matthew, how much of this is this for you more political as opposed to more governance related?
For me, it is purely political because first, we must realize now that the local governments have full financial autonomy. And two, Section 7 of the Nigerian Constitution guarantees the existence of a democratically elected local government in place, and also guarantees that the governments of the state must ensure their existence. If you, as a governor, you have issues with local government, I said it earlier on, and I may repeat myself again, there are offices and institutions that you can contact. If you wrote a petition, for instance, to the FCC, nothing is wrong with it. Let the FCC do their job. If you wrote a petition to the House of Assembly to investigate, let the House of Assembly do their job. But beyond that suspension, you now started going from local government to local government, inflicting violence. Look at what happened at one local government area. But they were shooting, and if you see the pictures and videos, you will be surprised how Edo State has gotten to this level. Now, somebody is telling you that the governor just called them to bring their books. Then what is the duty of the auditors in the local government? What is the duty of the Auditor General of local government in the state?
Honorable Matthew, if you can, I mean, I want to be able to get what your party said, because your party was very direct in the way that they described the situation. So I want to be able to get what Tony Azegbemi, who's the chair of the caretaker committee of PDP in Edo State, actually said. He said, what I will say is that the governor does not have the capacity. And I think this is where a lot of people from the opposition are having issue with what he said, the tone and the words used. What I will say is that the governor does not have the capacity to understand these figures. The best he can do is refer these matters to the anti-corruption agencies. It is not his job to wake up every morning and be talking about money spent. He cannot be accusing men and women of high integrity every day. It's like an obsession for him now. He should get on with the governance of the state and stop disturbing us with figures. Is that why he was elected? He should carry on with his job. But many people will believe that it's impossible for him to carry on with his job if he doesn't understand what's going on at those levels. I want to ask you just dispassionately, away from the political wranglings, do you think it is important for the governor to know what this, and this money is 6.5 billion between January and September of 2024, and 8 billion to the local governments between October and December. And he says no tangible development has happened despite this 83 billion naira allocation to the local governments in the state. Away from the politics, right? Do you think that as governor, he should probably look into what these monies have been used for that would help him do the governance that your party has asked him to focus on?
I will tell you, straight up, that has got into to do with the responsibility of the governor. It's like the president of the country today coming out to say, oh, a state government should bring their books. He's not sure that there are developments going on in the state, and then asking the National Assembly to suspend that governor. That is completely against the Constitution. The local government, first, they are autonomous, they are a different tier of government. You have state governments, you have local government, and you have the federal government. If you have issues, there are also offices, constitutional offices, that have been set up to monitor these people. And if there are reasons, why do we have the anti-graft agencies? Let them investigate it. And if they have found one thing, the laws are clear. Those that you want to prosecute them. Not like you trying to go through the back door to hijack the local governments and take them over. I just mentioned earlier on that they did not stop and even suspend the supposed suspension of the chairman and vice chairman. They are going to the local government council using one councillor, like my local government, use one councillor. I can send you the video later and you can see it. To use one councillor out of 10 to say he has suspended the chairman and the vice chairman of my local government. In some local government areas, they use 2 councillors, they use 3 councillors. That is completely anti-democratic.
I want you to be able to answer the question that I asked. I understand what you said. Yes. We've been hearing the PDP. We've heard your party say this constantly for the past few weeks. We get that point. You feel it is undemocratic. You feel like it's fomenting violence. We get that. My question was, just as if you, because you were a former governorship aspirant, if you had won the election, wouldn't you have wanted to know what this money is? A lot of money, 83 billion in 1 year. If you had been elected governor, would you have wanted to know what the money was used for in those local government areas?
Let me tell you, those figures, you've not heard from the local government chairman to ascertain whether those figures are true or false. And I also let you know that the local government
I think we've run into a bit of a hitch with the connection. I think he's back now. Yes. Go on, Honorable Matthew. We can hear you. Oh, sorry about that. Let me see if I can get Mr. Lawani to answer a few questions on this as well. So the Local Government Services Commission, and I was listening to you talk, Mr. Lawani, about how this is something that you have actually, it was brought up with these local government chairmen, the issue of the accountability of these monies, and that you didn't get the accountability from them that was necessary, at least sufficient for the work that you do. But I want you to be able to respond to that issue from the People's Democratic Party, and I'm sure when Honorable Matthew comes in, he'll say more about it, which has to be, refer these things to, there's an Auditor General in the state, there's EFCC, there's ICPC. Refer these things to them and give us updates. But don't come and be calling people out every day and saying that he stole money every day. You don't have proof that he did that. You probably don't even understand these figures yourself. At least that's what the PDP is saying. Should he have just referred these things and focus on the issues of governance, as the PDP says?
Very much. What is governance? It encompasses. And one of the greatest expectation of the people is that their yearnings are met. And it's based on the budgeting. And if from the budget, monies were found to have been given to Mr. A, and you said that Mr. B, who is the head of the class, has no right to ask whether the money was properly utilized or not, it means that we have failed. Irrespective of the party, there is nobody. Well, my leader was talking about autonomy, financial autonomy. The financial autonomy in question, they are still using the same joint account. And the governor has said that because the financial autonomy has not started and we have released monies to you, and we have discovered that this money were not utilized for the purpose it was meant for. I can ask questions as a citizen. The governor, as the head of the class, can ask questions. The president can ask a governor.
Well, Mr. Lawani, that's the thing. He's not asking questions. He's making a statement saying that the money was not used for what it was meant for. He's making a judgment. He's not asking questions.
No, it's not judgment. He has asked questions. He said, please, can you bring your books in 48 hours? You said, no, in 12 hours, I will bring them. And the governor waited for 1 week, waited for 2 weeks. I'm sure if these books were brought, there is no way the governor would have taken further steps. But he saw it that these people were not ready to comply. They were not ready for them to work together. Can there be local government without the state? No. Can there be state without the local government? No. And if you are saying that the composition of the state includes the governor, just like you saying that the governor is from a local government, he has the right to demand for an account of how his local government was governed. And thank God he became the governor. And the man, you don't need a PhD to ask somebody that 20 naira was given to you, please account for it. That is just a simple question, sir. By way of asking, they refused to comply, and the governor felt, okay, there is a higher power going through the constitution. If it's a constitutional democracy, go through section 19 and 20, what the state government law says. The House of Assembly is the one in charge. The House of Assembly can impeach the governor and the deputy, can remove the chairman. Are you also aware that the House of Assembly can even remove the chief judge? Just the same way it is in the National Assembly. So the House of Assembly ensure that there is checks and balance to ensure that nobody, use powers the way they can just use it for their personal benefit or interest. So if the governor has written to the House of Assembly, that is a democratic process.
Has he written to the EFCC? Because these are corruption charges. Has he written to the EFCC or the ICP? Has he?
He has. As we speak, ma, today, the EFCC has invited the head of local government administrations. And I'm sure that the chairmen are also invited. So for me, there is no point just because the governor is not in your party does not mean that what he's doing is wrong because he's not in your party.
I want to be able to get a response from Honorable Matthew. Can you hear us, sir?
Well, Kayla, I want to say that my brother Damian is actually trying to defend what is not possible to defend. First, he said by himself, and you heard him, that the governor wrote to EFCC. He wrote to the House of Assembly, but he did not write to the House of Assembly to investigate. And the period for which you are asking these people to give accounts, is it when you now became governor or before you became governor? For how many months, for how many years do you want? The governor does not have the powers constitutionally to ask local government chairmen to bring statements of account and come and submit to him. And a Supreme Court pronouncement is like a supreme law. is superior to every laws made by, whether you say it's National Assembly, made by the Houses of Assembly. And the Supreme Court has said it is not possible to remove a local government chairman unless he or she is impeached by their councillors. And there are procedures for impeachment. They are not following all these things. That's what I'm saying. If the governor wants to know what is happening, there are institutions called the Auditor General of the local government. You can ask him that you need evidence as to how funds allocated to local governments over the past few months were expended by those local government councils. And mind you, chairman and vice chairman alone do not spend monies in the local government. You have the head of the local government administration, which is the organ. You have the person who is in charge of the finances in, at the local government level.
I mean, Honorable Matthew, before we wrap up, because we are running out of time, I wanted you to answer that question. I know that you were a governorship aspirant in this state. I just wanted to find out from you personally, if you had won that election, wouldn't you have wanted to look at the allocations to your local governments?
First and foremost, I didn't contest governorship election in the very last election. But if I am the governor of Edo State, I will go through the constitutionally ordained institutions to get any information that I want. I won't take it by myself like I'm seeking for self-help. That is what Edo State government is doing now. By going to the councils by themselves, getting one councillor to impeach chairman and say the chairman and vice chairman are impeached, and then trying to seize over the finances of the councils. That is undemocratic. That is not acceptable to any Democrat or any progressive at this time of our democratic evolution in Nigeria.
Mr. Lawani, maybe the governor should have focused on the accountant general in the state and ask for the finances. It's not as though the local government. You've heard what the PDP says. It's not as though the local government chairman is the only person that knows where the money is. If the state has account, someone allocated money, someone watches it. That is the job of that auditor general. Why didn't he just focus on that? Why are you going after local government chairmen and vices and councillors by yourself?
If the governor has not seen the Auditor General's report, he wouldn't have taken the steps that he has taken.
So what was the Auditor General's report? Let's start from there. What was that report?
He indicted the chairman. And the governor said, to further prove this, let me also have the books. Let's work like a family. Like I said, there cannot be state without a local government. Neither can there be local government without the state. So if the governor asks, and you know your books are clear, Kela, just like somebody asking you, I want to see your certificate BSc. And you know you graduated from a reputable university and is known. So why will you go to court to say, I want to stop you from asking me to bring my certificate? It's ridiculous. That's unacceptable. For me, I will be glad to say, this is my certificate. These are my books. This is what we have spent. And you can go through them.
All right.
And like I said, there is no way the governor would have taken further steps if these books were brought and family discussions were held.
All right, we do have to wrap it up there. I want to thank you both, Mr. Damian Lawani, Chairman of Local Government Services Commission and representative of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for being with us on the program. And Honorable Matthew, former majority leader of the Edo House of Assembly, former governorship aspirant and chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you both for being with us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much.
It's time for Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. We'll be back with more conversation, interestingly, from Edo State again. Stay with us.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Business. Before, as Kayla said, you head back to the Sunrise Daily studio. And we start, as usual, from the global space where oil prices rose in early Asian trade. And we're on track for a third straight week of gains with icy conditions in parts of the United States and Europe. That's driving up fuel demand as they use it for heating. And look at the numbers this morning, 24 cents increase, which translates to about 0.3% is what we have on Brent, but it's still retaining that $77, I think for about 3 days now, $77.16 a barrel. WTI is also up 0.4% at $74.18 a barrel. Over the 3 weeks ending January 10, Brent has advanced 5.9%, while WTI has jumped 6.9%. Analysts at JP Morgan attribute these gains to growing concern over supply disruptions due to tightening sanctions amid low oil stockpiles. Also, the icy condition in the United States and Europe is also adding to this, and improved sentiment regarding China's stimulus measures. The U.S. Weather Bureau expects central and eastern parts of the country to experience below average temperatures. Many regions in Europe have also been hit by extreme cold and will likely continue to experience colder than usual start of the year, which JP Morgan analysts expect to boost demand in the oil space. And now we come home to our Naira and see the performance for yesterday. Good enough. In 3 markets where we have our eyes, we're still around 1,500, at least below 1,006. So for NFEM, yesterday it opened at 1,445 and gained just a little bit right there, 0.19% to 1,542 Naira. That's, I think, 1 Naira 90 kobo, thereabout. And then for NAFEX, it opened at 1,543 Naira 83 kobo. I would close at 1,551 Naira 29 kobo. That's a drop of 0.48%. CBN rate, average sales, you know, the price at the close of trade yesterday was 1,541 Naira 6 kobo, a drop of 0.13%. And in the parallel market, you have it about 1,600. I guess we can celebrate the not so much gap between the official platforms as well as the parallel market, where most people are able to access the Naira. Now, CBN, as the Central Bank of Nigeria, has suspended approvals for extending export proceeds repatriation timelines, and that's effective from 8, that's about 2 days ago. This policy applies to both oil and non-oil exports, requiring exporters to comply with existing timelines to enhance foreign exchange inflows. Non-oil export proceeds must now be repatriated within 180 days of the bill of lading date, while oil and gas proceeds have a 90-day deadline. Authorized banks are to notify their clients of these strict timelines, as failure to comply could result in penalties. The CBN's decision aims to stabilize the Naira, strengthen the country's foreign exchange reserve by ensuring timeline repatriation of export earnings, eliminating delays, and tightening regulatory control. Another effort there by the Central Bank of Nigeria to keep the Naira in a stable place. Now, First Bank Holding of Nigeria has been in the news in recent times, but following all of that, following the news that some shareholders of the group are seeking to stop the bid by the chairman, Mr. Femi Otedola, to embark on a private placement and subsequent call for his removal, the company is saying that the issue does not in any way affect the operations of the company or its subsidiaries. The group is reassuring its customers, shareholders, investors, and the general public that its businesses will continue to deliver seamless and uninterrupted services. According to a statement signed by the company secretary, Adewale Arogundade, the bank also reiterates its commitment to protecting the interests of all stakeholders and taking all necessary measures to safeguard its operations. And now in Lagos, State Governor yesterday was really busy. One of the things he did, as Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, was to sign the 2025 appropriation bill into law, valued at 3.36 trillion naira. The bill, named the Budget of Sustainability, was signed at the Lagos House in Ikeja. Governor Sanwo-Olu describes the 2025 budget as the largest ever by any state government in the country, reflecting the state's commitment to growth and development.
The Lagos 2025 budget is structured around 5 pillars: infrastructural sustainability, economic diversification, social inclusion and human capital development, environmental sustainability, and governance and institutional reform. These 5 pillars are well embedded in our Teams Plus agenda, and we believe it fully captures our determination to build on the gains of the past and scale up impact for the future. It's a 3.36 trillion budget that has 1.295 trillion as overhead and 2.07 trillion as capital expenditure, which is a 62 and 38% capital to recurrent. As you've heard, it will be the largest, biggest subnational budget. It's the biggest that we've also signed, and we're convinced that we'll do justice to it. Year on year, we ensure that at the minimum, we implement 90 to 95% of our budget.
Well, also happened in Lagos yesterday, the National Bureau of Statistics will introduce 3 new indexes in its January data. That's expected next week. And this is part of the rebasing of the GDP and the CPI. That's the Consumer Price Index for the economy. This was part of information shared by the Statistician General, Prince Adeyemi Adeniran, during a sensitization program organized by both the National Bureau of Statistics and the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in Lagos. 11 years since the last rebasing of Nigeria's gross domestic product, and even longer since the basket measuring consumer price index was constituted, the National Bureau of Statistics announced the initiation of the process in October 2024.
So I also like to recognize
the Nigerian Economic Summit Group is working with the NBS on this sensitization workshop for citizens, the private sector, and other stakeholders through the media.
Previous rebasing of the economies, especially of the GDP and CPI, has triggered historically a lot of mixed reactions. Some of those reactions came from not understanding the methodology. Some of those reactions came from the weaponization of the rebasing.
The changes begin in the next monthly data and should include 3 new indexes: services, energy, and farm produce.
All these new sectors they are new, they are emerging, and they are not well captured in the last rebasing. We have made concerted efforts to ensure that we capture their activities, and then we'll be measuring them accurately as we make progress. Not only this, we also like to update our consumption basket. We know that we have about 740 items in our basket that we use to complete inflation now. We'll be seeing what we have done to upgrade that in the presentation.
The NBS assures that intentionality has been applied to the indices to be considered, which include the base year.
NBS conducted another survey in 2024 to capture expenditures of household on rare items, durable goods. Also, we bank on our administrative statistic. CBN gave us expenditures of household on all these POS, check, or financial transactions. Even National Insurance Commission also gave us some data.
This CPI series affects or influence monetary policy.
It is expected that this meeting will produce some missing elements which the private sector may have shared before the new methodology is implemented. These were elaborated by a panel of economists and other stakeholders. Use of digitalization in carrying out the survey, also looking into the GDP of subnationals and some of the new output expected with the new methodology. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News. Well, exciting days ahead, looking at data that should be coming from the NBS. That's expected by the 15th. That's next week. So, and well, the NBS has said this new 3 new indexes would be released then. So we look forward to that. Although the challenge of the website is still there, you know, over 3 weeks after we were told that it's been hacked. You know, we cannot get information from the side, the National Bureau of Statistics. So I wonder where the information will come from. Would we have to go to their X handle to get such important national information? Or perhaps the website would have returned or would have been reworked before then. We certainly do hope that would be the case and it will come back with stronger security features so that we would not have this downtime again. But let's stay on the rebasing and expectations of that now with the GCEO of Cowrie Asset Management Limited, Mr. Johnson Chukwu. Mr. Chukwu, good morning and welcome to the program. I should say Happy New Year. I think this is the first time we're speaking, you know, since we got into this year, at least on air.
Thank you for having me. Good morning and Happy New Year.
So how expectant are you? I don't know if you listened to that report. The CEO of NESG has said that the last rebasing of the GDP, which was done about 11 years ago, he implied that perhaps it was not optimized because of the political elements and all of that. So, I mean, that could also be a discouragement, you know, to this much awaited rebasing. This time is both the GDP and the CPI. How expectant, how much can we really expect from this?
As you know, the economy of any country is always dynamic, of every country is dynamic, particularly economies in emerging countries. Because what happens that in emerging economies, you see new business segments will evolve and begin to grow and become consequential or significant in the economy. And previously, because they were not there, they wouldn't have been captured in the GDP computation. So as the economy is expanding or diversifying, new segments of new businesses will come up. Even in advanced economies, the digital technology business was not there a couple of years back. It's now a major contributor to the economy. If you take, for instance, the Nigerian economy, for instance, 20 years ago, the telecommunication sector was inconsequential. I mean, prior to 2000, that sector was almost non-existent. Today, it contributes about 16% of the GDP. It's the second largest contributor to the GDP. You have the likes of media and entertainment that had become a vibrant segment of the economy, and that was not there at some point. So what has happened, or what we expect, is that the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics would have been able, through their surveys, identify, like they said, 3 new service sectors or 3 new sectors. Captured new sectors that have become strong enough. I think they mentioned energy sector. They mentioned palm oil.
Food and services.
Yes, food and services. So we've seen expansion in some of these sectors. Take, for instance, the energy sector. Today we have an energy sector that is largely private sector driven, other than the transmission company of Nigeria managing the transmission grids. And we need to begin to monitor what level of power supply or energy supply do we have. Is it expanding or declining or shrinking? And what needs to be done? Because the basic thing we must recognize is that statistical data that are published by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics or any other Bureau of Statistics is for use of decision makers to drive socioeconomic development. So I think this will give us a better understanding of the structure of the Nigerian economy so that people can also focus on which areas to invest in, which areas to go into, where the opportunities exist, and which sectors are shrinking. The government can actually take measures to stimulate or restore growth in those sectors that are declining.
What about the concern of political influence in the numbers? We've seen that play out even in our population number when census is going to be carried out or is being carried out. We've seen it in voters' card and all of that. What about that concern?
You know, for me, it's not a fundamental concern. It depends on the quality of leadership of NBS. NBS funding comes from international donor agencies, from the central bank. To a large extent, they are financially independent. Don't go cap a hand to any minister to say, give us money to carry out this survey. But beyond that, we've seen a Secretary General of the country that had done in previous years, consistent report that we are even at variance with governments, what government desired they're able to see. But then they were presenting data, facts to government to work with. So I think it depends on the level of self-assuredness, the level of independence of mind of the Station General. I don't think if the Station General is independent-minded, anybody will push him around and ask to sex up the data that we use to arrive at either the GDP figure or the CPI figure. And that brings me to the issue around our current unemployment report, which also comes from the Bureau of Statistics. If you look at that report, Nigeria's latest unemployment figure is about 4.3%. About the same level with England, about 4.2%. England, UK has about 4.2%. Germany has about 3.2%, implying that Nigeria has at the same level of unemployment with a country like that. That's where the political influence should. We should make sure that it doesn't crop into statistical data that are relevant for decision making. If you ask anybody in Nigeria, do we have a 4.3% unemployment? It has actually lost its essence or its value in terms of being used as a decision-making tool. Because we as analysts, not even government is looking at the unemployment figure, because somehow when they change the method of computation, we arrive at a figure that becomes nonsensical. It becomes useless because Nigeria cannot say we have the same level of unemployment as England or Germany. So we need to go back and make sure that data or methods of arriving at our report reflects the unique nature of our economic and social environment, which is what the rebasing does. It's intended to ensure that statistical data are attuned, are aligned with the realities of that socioeconomic environment, so that it becomes relevant to the people who are using it for decision making.
Okay, so NBS has promised that next week we're going to see these 3 new indexes: energy, food, and services. What do you expect, especially energy? We know what has happened. So what do you expect? What position do you expect from those numbers?
You know, for the energy sector, because it was never treated as a separate item, remember that almost everything that runs on earth runs on energy. Everything, not almost everything, everything that is active runs on energy, be it animate or inanimate objects. If you look at the energy sector, starting from supply of liquid energy sources, fuel, diesel, base oil, and all the rest, to electric energy, and you need to be able to measure what size of energy are we generating as a country, which is what the statistical report will show. What's energy? We talk of, okay, sometimes we say we are still on 3,000 megawatts or 4,000 megawatts, but then what is the level of energy that even households are generating from our personal computers, from what we call pass my neighbor, our personal generators, the office generators, the pass my neighbor generator, the industrial generators. By the time we sum up that, we look at what size of energy are we generating, and what are the cost of those energy generations, and what is the optimal energy need of the country. How do we make sure we're generating energy in the most efficient manner at the cheapest possible cost, so that the economy become competitive? So that's what I expect to have. It will be difficult for me to hazard a guess on what percentage of the GDP the energy subsector will now account for. But clearly, if you are anywhere, you will see that your car is running on fuel. That's the fuel that we consume is part of energy consumption. Now we have battery-powered energy source, solar energy source is part of energy consumption, and we are going to be looking at the energy mix of the country. We are gradually migrating away from fossil fuel-dependent energy sources to alternative clean energy. It's a good thing we're in a tropical region, so we have a lot of solar power generation. And as we continue to measure this, we're going to continue to see shift in terms of our energy mix. And then we should be asking of what is a cleaner energy source, and what's the cost of that energy source, and is it declining, and we're expanding those desired energy sources.
Yeah, I mean, that's our energy mix. A lot of countries have their energy mix. They have the data, and I think that will also bring a whole lot of push to maybe adopting renewable energies and things like that. But, with data, we're supposed to be able to make planning, efficient planning, that is. And you mentioned the issue of the unemployment data. Since the new methodology was adopted, we've had a lot of, well, not so acceptable effort or perception to the numbers for obvious reasons, as you have noted. Having the same unemployment rate with the United States and the UK, was the reality of that. So we do hope that that's not what we're going to be seeing with this inflation number. But, the last time that our GDP was rebased, it made Nigeria the biggest on the continent. Do you see us getting to that? I know, was it last year, we did drop down to about number 4. Do you see that? Because we have a lot of activities in the ICT, telecoms, among other sectors. Do you see it pushing us up, our position back up?
We're most likely going to see an increase size of GDP because you are bringing in sector that were not previously measured. But I don't think it can take us to become number 1. If it does take us to become number 1 to displace South Africa, then people are going to doubt the integrity of the data they have presented to us. Because the reality, if you look at even the energy sector, which will be the major sector that they are bringing into the mix, South Africa generates 10 times or more energy than we do. South Africa, of course, we know is an industrialized country. So the possibility that by bringing in the energy sector, we are going to see a material shift in terms of ranking of in African economies, and Nigeria takes the primus position again. I think that would put a huge question mark in their data. But I clearly know that introducing a sector that was not previously measured will clearly increase the size of the GDP.
Okay, so what's your expectation of inflation number, CPI, for December? I guess obviously it should be up, yes?
I avoid these kind of wide gazes because it's basically in the realm of conjecture. But I clearly will expect that our GDP figures in dollar terms should be above 300 billion. Of course, part of the reasons why our GDP had crashed to that region is because of devaluation. So when Naira strengthens, at official and parallel market rate, we saw Naira depreciate beyond what it was last year. In 2023, remember that Naira closed about 907 Naira at the official window in December 2023, and about 1,206 Naira at the parallel market window. Last year, it closed up in the region of 1,500, 1,400 at both market segments. So, given that depreciation, which is what they have to apply to the Naira value of our GDP, we are still going to see a GDP that will be shy of the size that has been attained by South Africa.
All right, Mr. Johnson Tuku, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Let's take a break now. When we come back, more stories and the market numbers for you here in Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Welcome back. Still watching Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. Now, earlier we told you about some of those issues around FBN Holdings, First Bank of Nigeria. Now, we do have a court order. This is from FBN Holdings, but we do have a court order. It's not very legible, but you know, with legal things, you have to be really, really careful with it. That's what we're trying to do. So that court order has the plaintiffs and the applicants as First Bank of Nigeria and FBN Quest. And then on the other hand, you do have the defendants, a whole lot of individuals, including Mr. Nduka Ebaigun. I'm sure you've seen that story that was on yesterday. So this is an order mandating all commercial banks in Nigeria, of course, will include Guarantee Trust Bank, Access Bank, Citibank, Eco Bank, First City Monument, all of them, to file and serve on the plaintiffs and applicant solicitors. Remember, that's the First Bank of Nigeria and the FBN Quest, to file and serve on them, on their solicitors within 7 days of serving this court order on them, an affidavit disclosing the sum standing to the first to the fourth defendant's credit, with a duly certified statement of account of the first to the fourth defendants and respondents in their respective custody from the date of its opening till the date this order is served on banks. It's an order mandating the 8th to the 13th defendants to file and serve on plaintiff applicant a statement disclosing quantum of products lifted from the 8th defendant of OML 120 since the commencement of production. And I think the amount involved here says that, I'll just go there, an order of interim injunction restraining the first and to the fourth defendants, agents, servant officers, and other persons, natural or artificial, however called under the control of the first to the fourth defendants, from transferring or otherwise dealing with any and all of the money standing to the credit of the defendants in any account whatsoever with any of the aforementioned banks, whatever situate up to the amount of $225 million, $802,802,379.69, being the indebtedness on the first defendant's account with the first plaintiff applicant as of September 30th, 2024. So, I mean, it's an information we need to give to the members of the public, but it's a court order, and of course, it's connected to the FBN Holding, which we had told you earlier how FBN Holding is assuring its customers that in spite of all of this, what's going on in the court with individuals, with the banks and all of that, that they're assuring customers, shareholders, that business is going on well, your investment is safe, and operations will run as smoothly as possible. All right, that's from First Bank. Now, let's see a bit of closing numbers from yesterday. It was a good trading day yesterday. We saw a 1.25% increase in the all share. We saw that we hit 105,000 level, and then we're on 64 level for the equities cap. First Bank did lose some naira from its share price yesterday, but that was not enough to bring down the counters. The counters were looking really good yesterday. MTN, for a second trading session, moved the market into the green zone. So it was a pleasant trading day yesterday. Now, we have intraday numbers at 1 p.m. That'll be during Business Incorporated. It will be you and I. Let's make it a date. 55 minutes of business is what we'll do today at 1 p.m. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Let's head you back to the Sunrise Daily Studio.
on the night of the 16th, angry soldiers stormed Okuama village and set it on fire. For me, it is avoidable. And you see, you can't blame soldiers alone. There is a general position in the society whereby, because of loss of confidence in the judicial system, everybody, embraces more justice. Even the statement of the president yesterday, we're in a civilian, a democratic system of government. The president cannot order military authorities to fish out civilians involved in a heinous crime. That is the duty of the police. In this case, it was reported by the chief of defense staff. Since I read that on Saturday, General Christopher Musa, that some arrests have been made. So what I expected the authorities in Delta State to do on that day was to have these suspects transferred to the police so that on Monday morning, this morning, they will be charged before the court. And a statement ought to have been made. We've arrested the criminal elements. We are going to have them arraigned in court on Monday. At least that will go a long way to douse the tension that was allowed to mount, culminating, unfortunately, in the attack on Okuama village. We saw this in Zakibia. We saw this in Odi. We saw it in Baramotu. And when people went to court, nobody was talking of those who were killed. Nobody was looking for the criminals that killed. It was like a question of those who were made victims through collective punishment, which is not part of our law.
So Femi Falana there with some perspective about our conversation. And joining us to talk more about this unfortunate situation that happened in March of last year, we have Professor Patrick Mubogari. Professor Patrick Mubogari. He's the representative of the World Council of Urobo Professors. You're from Okuama community as well.
No, certainly not. Not, but I'm Urobo.
You're Urobo.
Yes.
So the Okuama community, they are Urobo
They are
people.
Urobo.
I mean, is there an update on what's going on there right now? The reports that we're getting is that it's still a very volatile area and a lot of extrajudicial killings are still going on there.
The latest update on that will be the closing of the camp at a main town. Because when the incidents occurred, when the town was destroyed twice within the period, the indigenes were now taken to a camp established by the state government at Ewu. I think that camp was closed about a week or two ago, right? And the people are going back to their empty land now to see what they can do for themselves.
And they ain't do anything there?
They cannot do anything for themselves unless we come to their assistance. They cannot, because the entire town was brought down 2 times. Was brought down 2 times. By the military, by the army, not just by the Nigerian army. In retaliation for the killing of the soldiers by whom they know not. Up to today, they do not know who killed the soldiers, but there was a lead. There was a lead as to who killed the soldiers. And that lead came from none other than the #1 military officer in Nigeria, the Chief of Defense Staff, a 4-star general, an officer and a gentleman. I love him. He's a professional. He came out with a very bold statement, which we, the Urobos, believe today is the truth, that the killing of the soldiers, a very unfortunate event, the killing of the soldiers was carried out by bunkerers, that the killing was bunkering related. And he specifically mentioned one Amagbe. Amagbe is not Urobo, it's not from Okuama. That he was the one, he was the kingpin in this killing. And soon after that statement was made, soldiers left Delta for Bayelsa to a village called Igbomotoro, Amagbe's village, and did practice killings there. before coming back to Okuama to destroy. So if the number one officer, military officer in Nigeria, who has intel from the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army and other agencies, could tell you boldly that these killings were done by this group of persons, very powerful group. Bunkerers are a very powerful group of people. Why destroy Okuama? It was after that statement by the Chief of Defense Staff, seeing that they had unjustly held Okuama responsible, other statements started coming in from lesser chiefs.
I mean, you have to understand where the military was coming from as well, because when we got that statement from them in March, they said the 17 military personnel, yes, including the commanding officer of the 181 amphibious battalion, Lieutenant Colonel A.H. Ali, and they said they were killed during a peace mission. At least that was the conversation we heard. Peace mission, settling a land dispute between Okuama and Okoloba. Good. You're saying this is not the case?
No, this is certainly not the case. Land disputes are always there. Even in this city, there are land disputes.
You're saying the military were not there on a peace mission?
They were not there. Certainly, we do not believe, we the Urobo do not believe that they came on a peace mission. Because one, if it's a boundary dispute, the military has nothing whatsoever to do with boundary disputes.
If it's peacekeeping, the military can.
No, peacekeeping, because there was no war.
Because that's what they said. They said
there was no war between the two bodies. I will tell you why it is not. It was not peacekeeping, because there's some lie there, or untruths there. They said they came on a peacekeeping. Now, the local government chairmen were not aware that they were coming for peacekeeping. Okoloba is Bomadi local government in Delta. Okuama is Ugeli South local government in Delta. The two local government chairmen were not aware.
Was there a problem between Okuama and Okoloba?
No, there was a problem between an individual, one Patrick, and some individuals in Okuama. Land is owned by families.
So an individual from Okoloba and an individual from Okuama were having a land dispute. So it wasn't as though it was a community dispute?
No.
And it didn't snowball into a community issue?
Certainly not. And the Okuama community had written to the state government to say, look, there's encroachment by one big man, one former Nimasa man. He's very, very rich. We cannot contain him. Please help us to get our land back. They had written to the state government. So the issue of peace mission really does not arise. Okay, if we are going for a peace mission, because you felt that two communities were at war, would you really go without your arms, as the army claimed that it was a peace mission? For that reason, we didn't go with our arms. When you go for ECOMOD peace mission, wouldn't you go with your arms? So these are just stories. These are just stories being told to cover the real truth. And what is the real truth? I go back to Chief of Defense Staff. That is a bunkering thing. And these bunkerers, my sister, can bribe angels.
Explain to me what the bunkering situation, according to you.
Yeah, so the bunkering situation in the Niger Delta
in Okuama?
No, there's no bunkering in Okuama.
So which bunkering issue are you referring to?
In the waterways, of course.
So it's just the area?
The whole of the Niger Delta is bunkering.
Okay.
It's a bad bunkering, right? So, and they could pursue anybody on the waterway. It's like the water we are talking about in Okuama. It's like 10 times this new Apia ways built by Wike here. That would be just one channel of the river, right? So it's very wide. Okay, and the place crisscrosses from one creek to another, from one to another, right? And this bunkering thing had involved Tantita, that's the consultant or the contractor, right? Tantita had accused the military of being involved in bunkering. The military had accused Tantita workers of being involved in bunkering. So the whole thing is very lucrative. This is a dollar business, Okay. These are billionaires in dollars. Right? So that is the situation. Of course, they could kill. The kinds of guns we see there are not these AK-47. They are mounted on boats.
Okay.
Right? So the Chief of Defense Staff was aware. Every person in Niger Delta knows that bunkering is very serious business and very, very deadly.
So which specific issue?
This specific issue now, there is no other person I will take the truth from than the Chief of Defense Staff.
Okay.
Because he had the intel. And he said so, meaning the Okuama people were not responsible. If Okuama people were this powerful, why would they report to the governor that one man is taking their land? Why not take the man out? They were not that powerful. So not to talk of killing soldiers. We don't do that in Urobo land.
Give me your perspective about how this bunkering issue led to the death of these 17 soldiers?
Our perspective is that of the Chief of Defense Staff.
Okay.
Right? Now, there are gangs. There are gangs of bunkerers. There are gangs who claim that the military is protecting the opposite gang. There are gangs who claim that the security consultant is protecting one group. And then there are these ones unknown gangs. So it's between and among them. Every other person is collateral damage. It's between and among them fighting. And that is why when the CDS made that statement, all of us said, this man actually knew the truth. Because we had always known this truth, that these guys are deadly. So it's not Okuama matter. So when he now said, for example, after the first destruction of Okuama, there was not a second destruction.
If it was a gang issue.
Yes.
If it was these gangs infighting between them for whatever nefarious reasons that led to the killing of these soldiers, whether in retaliation or whatever, how did that involve Okuama community? How come the accusation came to the men from Okuama?
This is the mystery of the whole thing. It's a mystery. Nobody can understand how Okuama got to be involved in this matter. Perhaps we can hazard a guess. The thing happened in the waterfront of Okuama. We are very familiar with it. There was once in my village, a trailer was carrying cows to Port Harcourt. My village is on the Warri-Port Harcourt highway. It had an accident and cows ran into the bush. Some died, some survived. Now the owners of the cows were looking for the cows that survived. Some had gotten missing naturally. And then police just came and wanted to bundle the traditional ruler. At 2 a.m., the community resisted. Why? You must go and look for our cows because these things happened in your territory. Did you give the traditional ruler power to arrest those stealing cows? You didn't give him. So this is kind of thing, this thing happened in the Okuama waterfront. So Okuama must be dealt with. That is just it. Of course, it's a fact it happened in the waterfront. But where did the shots come from? We don't carry guns. We don't have the capability for that. So Okuama is just a victim. That's, you know, sometimes when they want to arrest people, something happens here now.
Is the military still looking for these 8 people that they released their names? Those Akewuru, Daniel, Omotegbono, Professor Ekpepo Ato, and Dawe Dennis Bariki, Igoli Eba, who's female, Akata Malawi David, Sinclair Oliki, Clement Ikolo, Ogbene Rukewe, and Ruben Baru.
Good.
Now, they still declared wanted. Have they arrested any of them?
Ikolo should be the traditional ruler of a way, was arrested first by the military, was declared wanted by the military. He went and came back, right? Professor Ekpepo and co, those are members of the executive committee of the community. We run our communities by executive committee, development associations. The professor of physics is the president general. And then the entire Okuama community ESCO had been taken into custody illegally by the military. I underline illegally by the military. 1 had died. We said 2 had died. They said only 1 old man died. When they brought the second old man, and that one is not alive. In fact, just existing. It's not alive, right? So 2 had gone. We just say 2 are dead. The others, we have no information about them. We do not know whether Professor Ato Ekpepo is still alive. My friend, is still alive. We do not know. Whether the others in the military detention are alive, we do not know. And they will not tell us the numbers either. My sister, if a crime occurs, the responsibility for investigation and prosecution is that of the police. Whether it's a soldier that was killed, whether it's a professor that was killed, whether it's a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, an architect, or a policeman, it's a policeman that investigates.
What do people want now?
What we want? First, right now, release all those persons illegally detained by the police. I say illegally again, detained by the police. Release them in good health. Then 2, which is something they ought to have done at the beginning that they failed to do, set up a judicial panel of inquiry. The truth will come out, my sister. A judicial panel of inquiry must be set up. Why the shooting was going on? We're in Nigeria, for God's sake, where everybody takes videos, even from hiding. You are familiar with that? When there are accidents, people, armed robbers are robbing Nigerians.
So those are the 2 things you want?
Yeah, no, certainly a judicial panel of inquiry.
Yes, and the release of your...
No, more than that. Apology.
From who? The military?
From the Nigerian government to Okuama.
Okay.
And then compensate. You must rebuild Okuama. You just have to. You see, what happened was that when the commander-in-chief, in anger, gave that order. Bring the perpetrators to book. To justice. Bring the perpetrators to justice. It was not directed at the military. It ought to have been directed at the Ministry of Justice and the police. They are the ones who investigate and prosecute. When you say military should bring people to justice, the military knows only one kind of justice: jungle justice.
So you want an apology from the federal government?
Certainly.
Okay, from the commander-in-chief, probably.
Federal government.
Okay.
Because the Nigerian army is, federal government is.
So an apology, and then rebuild.
Of course, compensation.
And compensate.
And compensation.
I'm going to toss to Ayo.
And then, of course, number 3, a judicial panel of inquiry, because our soldiers must not die in vain. As we speak, they have died in vain.
Let's get Ayo to ask you a few questions. Go ahead, Ayo.
Thank you, Kayla. You know, one of the things that usually I always like to look at is what could have been done better, so that we use that as a yardstick for ensuring that this does not repeat itself. We've had several, Prof. I'm sure you've been around for long enough to know that some of these things have happened over time in various communities in our country. The OD killings is one, and several others like that over the years. Is it possible that the community leaders could have foreseen this and forestalled it?
First, what could have been done better? But let me take the last one, whether the community leaders would have foreseen this and forestalled it. I'm saying categorically that this community is not in any way involved. So they could not have seen, they are not in charge of the waterways. This community, Okuama community, is not in charge of the waterways. Cannot stop people from passing, cannot stop Tantita or the military from passing through the waters. One of the branches of the River Niger. They cannot. So if they saw it, of course, in Delta State, most arrests that are made by the police are made by community leaders. It's very common in Uganda North. When the police wants anybody in the community for one crime or the other, they go to the president general of the community to help bring this character to the police station. We do that. Now to the question of what should have been done better. As soon as this thing happened, as soon as the chief of defense staff knew that it was bunkering related and soldiers had been killed, and these soldiers must not die in vain, a judicial panel of inquiry should have been put in place immediately. Now, it's possible that those who could have given evidence have been killed in Okuama. And people can suspect that they were killed to cover evidence. They were killed to protect those who carried out this act. I'm 100% sure that the Okuama people did not carry out this act. I'm also 100% sure that those who carried out this act are escaping further and further every day because you are deliberately looking at the wrong direction. And that wrong direction is Okuama. Okuama does not have what it takes to have those weapons. They've never been known for that. It's a farming and fishing community. Always asking government officials to bring one school, one dispensary, or one thing or the other to the community. They are not known for that. We don't have the capacity for these weapons that these bunkers have. But I thank God again, and I always thank God, that the CDS said it is bunkering related. Not that Okuama people were involved in bunkering, not that Okuama people killed those young officers and men of the Nigerian army. And it hurts me that for as long as we continue to concentrate on Okuama, so long shall the killers escape or be protected. And this must not be.
You know, one of the things that also, play out from time to time between the military and the people is what they call the civil-military relations. Now,
yes,
expectedly, that would douse some tension. Do you think that tension has been doused in any way?
No, see, the military in Nigeria is not yet civil enough. I'm sorry to say that, not yet civil. They look at the civilian as blood. They use the term bloody civilian.
I thought that ended in the 70s, Prof.
No, they still use it. They still use it. They still use it. Bloody civilian. They mean nothing. And there is no army without the people. If people have the army, the Nigerian army does not belong to the soldiers. The Nigerian army does not belong to the army. The Nigerian army belongs to Nigeria. It is our army. Must take directives from civilian authority. But to carry on as if there is no civilian authority, you are in charge. No, left to me. In my anger, I would say, whoever ordered those people to go on that mission, whoever did that, be he a brigadier general or whatever, by now should have been court-martialed. Because you sent them on a wrong mission. It's like they were set up to be killed. For what purpose? Is it for bunkering purpose? And for what is happening now? Yes, I agree it's for bunkering purpose, because the bunkerers who have been identified or focused on by the Chief of Defense Staff to be responsible are not being nobody, no bunker has been picked up. Not even Amagbe has been picked up. Amagbe, because of whom the soldiers went after the CDS speech to Bomoturu to destroy, has not been picked up. Why? Is it that between and among them there is some real peace now being negotiated, or what? And let me take you further, sir. First, we asked, how could 17 officers and men be so easily brought down without a shot coming from them? We were told that because it was a peace mission, they didn't carry their weapons. Fine. Then during the second wave of destruction of Okuama by the army, after the first wave, they went for a second wave. Army, why are you coming again now? You've already destroyed the place. They said, we are looking for our weapons. Which weapons could you be looking for when you said because it was a peace mission, you didn't carry weapons? These stories don't tally. They were all afterthoughts. Any statement made by the military after the statement of the Chief of Defense Staff is an afterthought. And then the destruction of Okuama is just to let the soldiers in the barracks, other soldiers in the barracks know that yes, our soldiers were killed, we took it, we destroyed the town. Just to assuage feelings. But I'm not assuaged. I'm not happy about that. The truth is somewhere known to the CDS, known to Commander-in-Chief, known to the top hierarchy of the military, that these persons who did this thing are still very much around. And information could still come. If there's a judicial panel of inquiry, Nigerians always volunteer information. The army came, they set up a panel. Till today, we've not heard. They spoke to themselves in Government House Asaba and left. The House of Reps came, drove around, enjoyed themselves, and went back. No report. Not 1 minute silence for Okuama people in the Senate or the House of Reps, because they don't exist. Because soldiers were killed by people known to soldiers. They were killed by people known to soldiers, not to us. Why punish us? Why? Because we are soft targets? Okuama people are soft targets, they are not armed. And now they make jest of soldiers. You've left Katsina, where 22 local governments are under control of bandits, and you're coming to Okuama to kill people. You've left Northeast, where more than half of Borno State has been taken over by Boko Haram. Even going to military formations to kill them, you are coming to a soft target. And there is what we call fire discipline in the military. A soldier does not open fire on an unarmed person. It's never done. Even in war.
On paper.
In Nigeria, on paper, yes. Even in war.
On paper.
Yeah, even in war, where you face the enemy who is armed, when that enemy drops his arms and raises his hands, no trained soldier fires.
I mean, now that you brought that up, because it's actually a conversation, not just in Nigeria, around the world. So we have a situation where many people, many criminals, use this rule as an excuse. So what they do is they carry terrorists and hide under civilians. What do you want the military to do in this kind of situation? And imagine, I'm not saying that's what happened. Is it possible that many people from the community may have been protecting a lot of these people? The statement from the military says, he says that Lieutenant Colonel Ali's efforts to curb illegal oil operations could have motivated the assault.
Thank you, ma. You've spoken for the Yoruba people. His efforts to curb oil theft.
Is it impossible that people from Okuama were part of this?
No,
impossible.
Impossible. We are not into it.
Something that makes money like that.
No, we are not as sophisticated as that now.
Prof.
All right.
They have Prof from there.
Fortunately, ma, I will always say this Chief of Defense Staff is my friend for life. He knew the truth and told the truth. Maybe because he's a Christian. He knew the truth and told the truth. This thing is bunkering, no. It's not about boundary. And the kingpin was known, ma. The kingpin Amagbe was known to the military. And then the kingpin was traced to Bomoturu.
Just before you leave,
yes.
Just so you can reiterate what it is that you want from the government now.
Yes.
We're in 2025.
Yes.
You said that there's still no peace in that place. And those who have left the camp that was closed last week have gone back to empty land. They can't do anything there.
Yes.
So here are the things that you're asking for. Number one.
One, because I'm a patriotic Nigerian, those soldiers must not die in vain.
Judicial
there
panel
must be
of inquiry.
A judicial panel,
okay.
Right? To unravel these things, to unravel the truth. That is one. Two, an unreserved apology from the federal government.
Three,
for what has happened to Okuama. Compensation to Okuama community.
Four,
those persons being illegally held by the Nigerian army must be released. It makes sense to release them.
Are there any other?
No, those are the major ones.
So 4 major demands.
Yes. If you say you are investigating, let us assume, without arguing, that Nigerian army is investigating. At the end of the investigation, can the Nigerian army prosecute them? Or will the army take them to a court-martial? They are not soldiers. The army should learn that we are in civilian authority, not military authority.
All right, we do have to wrap it up there. Professor Patrick Mobogare, representative of the World Council of Urhobo Professors. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so very much.
And good luck with all the things you're asking
God bless
for.
You.
We have a few messages. Here as we wrap up. Tom Egbele. He says, the problem is not that of high cost of operations by the telcos. So he's talking about the telcos story. But how effective and efficient their services have been over the years. The fear by Nigerians is paying additional, he says, paying additional cost for services not rendered. As it is now, we are facing this hurdle with electricity. I think we can take the one from Professor Monoka and Nakena. He says sometimes sane citizenry entails reciprocating respect between the citizens and the government, who's in this instance is represented by the military. We must abhor the killings of military personnel, and the military must not necessarily reciprocate by wholesome violence against civilians who are innocent bystanders in this case. A panel must be set up to address this impasse because both sides of the divide must work together to hunt down crude oil thieves and operatives of illegal refineries. That is Sunrise Daily this morning and this week. It's Friday. Have a great weekend ahead. We'll see you next week. I'm Kayla Megwa.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a beautiful one.